Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is John Mauro. I'm a professor of material science and engineering at Penn State University. I also serve as editor-in-chief of Journal of the American Ceramic Society. Thank you for tuning in for this video today. The topic is how to get your research published. And what we'll be doing is covering some tips for how to prepare your papers to maximize the chances that they will be published in the peer-reviewed literature. So I have a presentation prepared. Let me share my screen and we will get started. All right, how to get your research published. This presentation was prepared in collaboration with the American Ceramic Society, the publisher of our journal, Wiley. So the goal today is to find out how to match your work to the needs of editors, readers, and search engines. And this is something that I'm going to stress a couple of times during today's presentation, that you really have three audiences to keep in mind when you prepare your manuscripts. You need to write for the editors, so the editors of the journals recognize the value and the importance of your work. Obviously, you need to write for readers. This is readers today, as well as future generations of readers to learn from what it is that you are teaching them. And nowadays, we are also writing for search engines, and it is important to include keywords in your titles, your abstracts, and so on, to maximize the chances that search engines such as Google are able to find your research. And this helps readers to find your research when they are looking for similarly published work. So as an overview, this presentation is divided into two parts. Part one is what editors and readers want, and also some tips on self-assessment of your work. And then we'll get into part two, which are keys to preparing a good manuscript. So what do readers and editors want from your paper? Ultimately, what they want is a good story. Now, oftentimes we think about telling a story in terms of novels or writing fiction, but those same principles apply to technical papers as well. So if you're writing about science and technology, you are telling a story. It needs to be well written. It needs to be aligned with the aims and scopes of the journal. It needs to have an opening and a title that captures the attention of your reader. And when they start reading the paper, you want to draw them in and hook them from the beginning. So they want to continue reading the rest of the paper all the way through the end. So it needs to have, a well-defined introduction, a well-defined conclusion, and a nicely flowing story in between that supports and emphasizes the key conclusions from your paper. Also extremely important is that your manuscript must be ethically prepared and submitted. This must be original work for an original research article, and the authors and prior art must be appropriately acknowledged. This means that everyone who contributed to the intellectual content of the paper must be included as co-authors, and you don't have any extra co-authors on there just to be nice. You also need to appropriately cite the prior art in the field. This includes oftentimes journal articles, patents, any relevant prior work that should be cited throughout your article. It's also important that your manuscript is submitted to only one journal for publication, one journal at a time. This is a rule across all of the scientific literature that your work can only be considered at one journal at a time. If it gets rejected from a particular journal, then you are free to go ahead and submit it someplace else. And likewise, it's also important that this work is not also submitted as an extended abstract or as a conference proceeding. It's totally fine to just submit an abstract for a conference, but if the content of the paper itself is also submitted for publication as a conference proceeding, that also counts as a publication, and that would be a case of dual submission. So make sure you submit your work to one and only one place, and following these guidelines will lead to greater satisfaction for everyone involved, for the editors, the authors, and the readers. What is it that makes a good story for your paper? A good story should be interesting and relevant to the journal's readership. It's not necessarily on some hot topic of the moment, but it should provide something new in some way, either some sort of new scientific understanding, which could be substantial new findings, new explanations, a new theory or model. It could be an empirical observation that has not been seen before, or some new proof of a hypothesis that either you are proposing or has been proposed previously in the literature. There has to be, some sort of novel finding there from a scientific or an engineering point of view, and your story should be built around that novel finding. So your important results that you show should be supported by evidence, by good procedures, whether it is your experimental methods or if it's a modeling and simulation paper, your theoretical approaches. And this builds upon and adds knowledge in the field. Your story should also be timely, and you should make it relevant to ongoing conversations in the field. So be sure to cite other recent work that has been published and discuss your research as it relates to that previous work that has been published in the field. The next question is where to submit your paper, and a few relevant questions to consider when you select a journal is who are the target audience for your research? Who are your readers? And you want to make sure that you submit your paper to a journal that has that target audience. And this is really the most important thing, because if you submit to a journal where the readership is different from your target readership, then you're really missing the people that you're trying to get to read your paper. Another key question is what is the breadth or the importance of your research? If you've got a paper that has a really broad applicability, you'll probably want to target a journal that has a very broad readership. If your paper is very specific, then it's totally fine to choose a journal that has a more specific or a more narrow focused readership. Also, with respect to the importance, so some journals are specifically higher impact journals that want to publish higher impact or more important science. Other journals are totally fine with incremental types of research. The next question is, where do you find papers which are similar to yours? A good place to look is in the references of your own paper. What are the journals that appear most frequently in your references? There's a good chance that those journals would be a suitable target for your new manuscript as well. And another question is, how quickly do you want to get this published? Different journals have different average times from submission to a decision. Here at the American Ceramic Society, we have very efficient processing among all of our journals. And that's not necessarily the case in other journals. So are you in a hurry to get this published or not? If that is the case, be sure to check on the average time that it takes for review. Now, here at the American Ceramic Society, we have 4 outstanding journals to publish your research related to ceramic and glass science. The first one, and also the newest journal in our portfolio, is the International Journal of Ceramic Engineering and Science, or IJCES. This is a fully open access journal, which means that every paper published here is open access. So none of the readers require a subscription to go online and download your articles. Anyone with internet access can go online and download your research. The scope of IJCES is very broad. This covers all of ceramic and glass science and engineering and all stages of research and development and any level of depth. This can include new ideas. It can include confirming and or negative results. And I want to emphasize this negative results part too, because there is a tendency for authors not to publish negative results. Like if you do an experiment and it doesn't work, oftentimes people don't want to publish that, but that's actually really useful knowledge too. So if you've tried something and it didn't work for whatever reason, that is something that is also worthwhile to have in the literature, and IJCES is an appropriate journal for that. IJCES doesn't require that your work be a significant new contribution to science or engineering. Incremental improvements are totally fine in this journal. The important thing that is that it is quality work and that you've got a full and complete analysis of your research. The next journal is IJAGS. This is the International Journal of Applied Glass Science. This journal focuses specifically on glass and more on the applied and engineering sides of glass. So this covers applications of glass science and engineering. This can be in the consumer space, in the commercial space, or research related to industrial or pre-industrial glass science or technology. IJAGS publishes many special topical issues, including issues related to glass strength, medical uses of glass, bioactive glasses, glass applications in lighting, energy, optical applications, and so on. But although there are many special topic issues, please note that you are welcome to submit on any topic of your choice related to applied glass science. Um, the IJAGS journal also focuses on glasses for long-term performance. This is kind of sitting at the interface between academic glass science and industrial glass science. So on either side, it is appropriate to publish here. And there is a sister journal when it comes to ceramic technology. That is the International Journal of Applied Ceramic Technology, or ACT. This is suitable for applied research and development in the field of ceramics, including commercialization of engineered ceramics, and topics include discussing barriers to commercialization, design and testing of ceramic products, environmental issues, standardization, and databases of ceramic material properties. And finally, there's my journal here, the Journal of the American Ceramic Society, or JACERS. This is the oldest journal of the American Ceramic Society. We are currently in volume 107. So this is the 107th year of publication of the Journal of the American Ceramic Society. So many of the most important, most impactful papers in ceramic and glass science over the past over 100 years have been published in Journal of the American Ceramic Society, and we continue to publish some of the most important research results. So this is the flagship journal of the American Ceramic Society. This focuses on fundamental scientific principles of ceramics, glasses, and composite materials. The scope of Journal of the American Ceramic Society includes both original research as well as invited reviews. If you would like to propose a topic for review, you are welcome to email me that proposal, and I'll be happy to review it and get back to you in a timely fashion. One of the features of Journal of the American Ceramic Society is its enduring value to ceramic scientists and engineers. The citation half-life is over a decade, meaning the articles that get published in JACERS have not just a strong short-term impact, they have a long-term impact. And there are papers that are still frequently cited that were published 100 years ago in JACERS. It also has an expanded editorial board. So in addition to me as editor-in-chief, we have a team of 12 editors and a team of over 100 associate editors who have expertise across ceramic and glass science. So at JACERS, we offer very high quality papers are what we publish, high quality reviews, as well as faster decisions. So some other considerations for picking journals include speed of review versus quality of feedback. So at JACERS, we work very hard to give you both high quality feedback in a timely fashion. That being said, there are some journals where there is this trade-off where there could be lower quality journals that give a less rigorous review process versus ones that take longer. So, be sure to do your research on the particular journals. Good reviews do take time, even at peak efficiency. And keep in mind, too, that top experts review for top journals. If you want your work to be reviewed by the top experts in the field, submitting your research to top journals is a good way to do that. Another consideration is enduring quality and impact factor. So nowadays, there's a lot of attention paid to impact factor of journals, but please keep in mind that that is only a short-term snapshot, looking back at just the previous 2 years. I'd argue it's actually a lot more important to go back further in time and see what the long-term impact is of papers, and choosing a journal that has a long-term track record over many decades of publishing high-quality papers is a good indication that your research will not just be impactful in the short term, but in the longer term. And one final consideration is whether you would like to publish open access or in a subscription journal. Three of our journals are hybrid journals, meaning that you can publish as either open access or via the subscription model. And the International Journal of Ceramic Engineering and Science is a fully open access journal. The difference is that if you publish open access, anybody with internet access can get online and download your article. It doesn't require a subscription. If you publish via the subscription model, then readers need to subscribe to the journal. And also keep in mind that more and more universities are having agreements with publishers to publish open access free of charge. And so please check with your institution to see if you have an agreement in place with the publisher where you could publish open access free of charge. Now, if your paper is rejected, please don't take it personally. Everyone gets papers rejected. I get papers rejected. And sometimes it is tempting to sort of take that personally, but please don't do that. It's not meant personally. Please take what you can glean from the reviews, from the comments that the reviewers are making, as well as editor comments, and use that information to try to make your paper better. Here at the American Ceramic Society, the vast majority of the reviews that we have are objective, high-quality reviews that offer insights that genuinely want to help you improve your paper. So please, read those reviews with an open mind and see what you can do to take any useful information from those reviews and help to improve your paper. Now, oftentimes, if your paper is rejected, the editors will offer to refer it to another journal. I would strongly consider taking them up on that offer because they may find that your article is actually more suited for a different journal, either based on the scope of the work or the topics that are being covered. And so if they offer that as an option, I would encourage you to strongly consider that. So this is based on expert advice on which journal is most likely to accept your work. In other words, what journal is most suitable for your paper. The referral process is easy and fast. You don't have to go through the full resubmission process because the submission systems are linked, and it also offers a faster reviewer cycle for transferred reviews. So please consider that if it is offered as an option. So that finishes the first part of our presentation. Part 2 of the presentation is keys to preparing manuscripts for acceptance and for getting citations to your work. We are going to cover English language and grammar, proper use of AI tools, as well as some advice on structuring your manuscript for these 3 audiences that I mentioned, for editors, for readers, and for AI tools that help index your work so people can find them. Now, some key principles here are that a manuscript that is difficult to understand will not get published. You want to be clear, concise, and focused in your messaging. Don't lose readers with unnecessary details. So, please, when you go through your writing, make sure that you're conveying the message that you want to convey as clearly as possible with as few words as possible. Now, if you are not a native English speaker, please don't rely on automated translation tools like Google Translate. It's really not good enough to be able to use Google Translate to make an article that is high enough quality for publication. My advice would be to ask one of your friends or colleagues who is a native English speaker to review your work and to offer editing. You can also use AI editing tools to help you with English grammar usage. And the important thing here is that you're not allowed to use AI tools to generate text that goes against journal policy. As long as the original text that you write is your own work, you can use AI tools to help you edit that text. You just can't use the AI tools to help you generate that text in the first place. And if need be, all major publishers, including Wiley, our publisher, offer a service for editing that is a pay for service. And it's actually a really good service. It is efficient and it works well. And if you want to learn more, please check out the Wiley editing services at the link shown on the screen. Now, speaking of AI tools, there is a right way and a wrong way to use AI tools. The right way is using AI tools as part of your research, for example, incorporating them into modeling and simulation, where you disclose exactly what type of AI tools you're using. Are they neural networks? Are they some other technique? And disclosing exactly how and why you are using AI tools. AI tools can also be used for editing of your writing and for polishing of your writing. They just can't be used for generating text. AI tools can also be useful for assisting with data analysis to help pull out trends that may be difficult to discern just as a human analyzer of data. The important thing is that you always disclose your use of AI and spell out exactly what it is you're doing and why you're doing it in your article. The wrong way to use AI is for automated literature searches. It is your responsibility to do your own literature searches and to make sure that the papers that you cite are relevant for your research and that you cite them in an appropriate fashion. The other wrong way to use AI tools is to generate images or to generate text and present it as if it's your own work. Your work needs to be your own work. And when you have your names as the authors of the paper, that is stating that that work is work that you did. And, you will feel much better about your own work if you put in that effort to write your own text. And, that would also be consistent with all the ethical policies and non-plagiarism policies. So, using tools like ChatGPT to generate text is just another form of plagiarism, because what it does is it takes text that other people have written and basically comes up with something else based on that. And then if you present that as if it's your own work, then that is dishonesty in published. And that is not allowed by our ethics policies, and it's not allowed by most of the policies of reputable publishers. If you're thinking of submitting to a journal where AI generated text is allowed, I would strongly consider submitting elsewhere, because that is, an indication of either the low quality of those journals or lower ethical standards. So let us move ahead now to how people read scientific papers. The first thing they do is to look at the title and abstract, and you want to be able to capture their attention from that title and abstract. If it's not interesting, that paper is likely not going to be downloaded. Next is the introduction and the conclusions. People will check that out to see, is that work relevant to their research? And then if they get into the details, they will cover the methods, results, and analysis. And that it really tells them, was this work done well? And finally, the references or the bibliography. Oftentimes people will use your paper as a gateway to find other research as well. So you want to make sure that you have a comprehensive set of references that are relevant for your research. Now, I'll finish up this presentation with a few specific tips on these different sections of your article. First is the title. The title drives the attention and traffic to the paper. If you don't have a clear, concise title that captures, the core of what it is that you're trying to present, then people are likely not going to go any further. So the title should be brief, general, but accurate titles are better. Examples of a good title would be Vibrational Spectroscopy of Silicate Glasses. I know exactly what that's about. Too vague would be something about some measurements of silicate glasses. What types of measurements? One that is too specific and too long would be high temperature AC electrical conductivity measurements of alkaline earth vanadate glasses doped with zinc and copper bromide and chloride. That is too much information and makes it too difficult to find what are the key elements of the title. An intriguing title would be Nanostructures and Nanothingness in Unique Glass Microspheres. An informative title would be an assessment of bulk metallic glasses for micro electromechanical system devices. So, focus on the key message that you're trying to convey and make sure that your title reflects that. Next up is structuring your abstract. You want to emphasize the important new result at the beginning of your abstract. So define the problem or the hypothesis that you are testing. Put a few sentences of the key background information in the middle of the abstract. So what you worked with, the materials, products, models, and a key overview of what you did. So what were the key experiments or variables? And then at the end of the abstract, include something important and new, the overview of your key results or findings and why those are important to the field and to society. Make sure that your abstract includes the most important keywords and phrases for AI indexing. We want to make sure that people are able to find your papers, and tools like Google Scholar are going through your abstracts and your titles to pick out keywords from there. And so make sure that you consider that audience of these AI tools that are going through and combing through the peer-reviewed literature to make sure that they are able to pick out those keywords so that readers can find it when they use those search engines. So a good abstract for readers and for indexing includes some of these keywords. You can see here, this is a keyword: alumina, 304 stainless steel, joints, residual stress. These AI tools are going through and they're picking out these keywords. And so when readers go through and try to search for these keywords, having them present in your abstract helps the AI tools to be able to find them, and it helps ultimately readers to be able to find them, read your paper, and ultimately cite it in their own work. Next up is the introduction. In this introduction, you want to restate the problem or hypothesis. Be sure to cite relevant prior research. Assume that your reader knows the basics. So assume that they know, basically what you would learn from an undergraduate education or a beginning graduate education in the field, and focus on your important research findings. So be thorough with citing the relevant research, and be sure to put your work in the context of that previous research. So describe how the prior research falls short with respect to your hypothesis, and then summarize the work that you did to help advance the field and address that problem. Don't state your results or conclusions in the introduction. Just give us, what is the key work that has been done to address the problem. Next up would be your materials and procedures, or your methods section. Be sure to give enough information that others can reproduce your work. What materials did you use? What were the tools that were used? What were the important specifications? And this is true whether it is experimental work or modeling work. Be sure you give enough information so somebody else is able to read your article and reproduce exactly what you did. And for equipment, include details about the type of equipment, the manufacturer, the operating conditions, and any other important information that people need to know to do the work. For results or discussion or analysis, remember you're telling a story, and a single data point rarely makes a paper. What is it that the data can tell you? What questions does it answer? Were there any surprises? Can you support your arguments and make the story more compelling? The key message is to let the story drive the paper. You're telling a story, and tell us how the results and the analysis fit into that story. So use figures and graphs, but not every image is necessary. You can also include supplemental files at the end for non-critical information. So it doesn't need to be a part of the core paper. You can have supplemental information that is at the end. Try to anticipate arguments that people might make against your work and answer that upfront in your discussion. So if you know that people will have some sort of rebuttal or objections, make sure you consider that ahead of time, and put your arguments in your discussion part. And finally, if you have outliers, be sure that you explain those outlier data points. and why is it that they are outliers, and how they may or may not affect your conclusions. Now, speaking of conclusions, this is not a copy and paste of your abstract. This needs to be some unique text that you provide that states how your work addresses your problem or hypothesis. Use the most pertinent evidence to support those statements. Be sure to use the conclusions also to connect your findings to the prior research. Do not speculate on property, structure, and behaviors that you did not research. Focus on the key conclusions that you can make based on the actual research that you did, and be sure to discuss the importance of your findings to the field and to society. So additional elements that editors will look for are analyzing and explaining potential sources of error. This is something that is often missed in papers. So if you don't have error analysis, be sure to include error analysis. What are the sources of your error? What are your error bars? Be sure that you've got plus or minus values in your tables, that you've got error bars in your figures. Editors will also look for appropriate references and attributions. Make sure that you're comprehensive. Make sure that you have done your background research and are recognizing the prior work that has been done in the field. Make sure you don't plagiarize. It's very easy to detect plagiarism. And so make sure that the work that you are presenting is new and is your own work. And if you are quoting word for word from another paper, that needs to go inside quotation marks, and there needs to be a citation to it right there. Also keep in mind that editors will use the references to help recruit reviewers. So as an editor, one of the first places I look to find reviewers is in the references. We look for names that appear there because we know that those folks will be familiar with the type of research that you're doing. So to summarize today's seminar, choosing a journal with aims and scope that closely match the topic, stage, and depth of research of your paper are critical criteria for acceptance of your article. Remember that your manuscript is written for 3 audiences: editors, readers, and indexing services or AI tools that perform indexing. Be sure to provide interesting and informative titles and abstracts. Be sure to include those key words and focus on the key information there. Your paper should be telling a story. It should be concise and on message, providing only the pertinent information. Always follow good publishing ethics and only use AI in proper ways, not to generate text or images, but as part of your research as appropriate, or as an editing tool, and always disclose how you used AI tools. And if your paper is rejected, please seriously consider the advice of the editors and the reviewers about how you can improve the paper. And please consider also, if you're offered a transfer to another journal, that you are able to do that. So that's all I have for you today. I thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave comments, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. All right, thanks so much, everyone, and best wishes for all of your research.